Welcome into this Wednesday edition, Blue Sky Live, here with you this morning. Chase Barham, Neil McCready. He is in the Clark Ford studio at home, courtesy of Realtree.com, as we had a pretty eventful day yesterday. First day of spring media availability. Pete Golding spoke. Trinidad Chambliss spoke. We got 12 minutes of access to watch some special teams, watch some folks run around yesterday. Exactly 12 minutes, actually. Clock started just as we got on the field. So we'll hit those things. I was out at baseball where Ole Miss knocked off Little Rock 7-4, included one at bat that Mike called the second most important at bat of the season, which probably says a lot about where they are right now, considering it was a Kids Day game in the midweek in the fifth inning. So we'll go through that a little bit here today as well. Hope all of you are having a wonderful morning. Got up in the got humid air today, up in the 80s again. We are converting over to the next season. Neil loves his seasons, and we are officially getting into the next one that we might be bypassing spring. It might just be summer in like 3 weeks, but nonetheless, it's fine. It's all good.
I had that conversation.
Did you?
Yesterday that it feels like we're skipping summer. I mean, skipping spring and going right into summer.
Yeah. Sorry, my volume got all messed up on my thing.
I wish we could have spring. I don't want to skip spring.
No, you don't want to skip spring. I mean, I don't mind missing some of the rain. Some of the ridiculous rain that comes during spring sometimes, but yeah, it's fine.
It got crazy last night for about 10 minutes.
Yeah, I looked outside and it was fine, and then a second later and it was like monsoon season out there. And yeah, it lasted 20 minutes tops.
Yeah. I'd gotten the grill lit. I was grilling a little bit, and next thing you know, it's coming this direction, and then it stops, and then it's coming the other direction. I was like, what the hell?
Well, I had that thing. I wasn't sure if my windows were down, and I was parked outside, and I had that 15 seconds of did I roll my windows up? Are they down? Are they whatever? Because I don't ever put them all the way down, but they'll be cracked a little bit from time to time. And yeah, I was paranoid about everything getting drenched inside my vehicle for that 10 minutes out of nowhere last night. So anyway, then you come for the weather report. We'll get on to some sports in a second. Before we do that, Blue Sky locations of the state of Mississippi, up and down I-55 throughout North Mississippi as well, taking care of you with Sweet Daddy stops all over the state. Lunch specials, those are $5.69. A couple sides of bread, any size fountain drink here in Oxford, but they're all over Mississippi. Brisket, pulled pork, side items, desserts, and much more, all the way down to the epicenter in Macomb. And again, Neil coming to you from the Clark Ford studio.
I am Clark Ford's in Amory, Mississippi, 662-257-1900. Call that number, ask for Corey Clark. Tell Corey what Ford product you're looking for. He'll send you a quote within 15 minutes in business hours, right to the bottom line. No hassle, no haggle. You get your quote. The rest is up to you. You can shop that quote around. You can do what I've done, what I recommend that you do, and that's hop into a Clark Ford today, 662-257-1900. Guests will join on the Campbell Clinic hotline. From fractures and sports injuries to complex spine and limb conditions, the pediatric orthopedic physicians at Campbell Clinic in Oxford are the only specialized pediatric orthopedic team in North Mississippi providing expert care for growing bodies. Visit campbellclinicoxford.com to schedule an appointment or call 901-759-3111.
A lot of coverage up at Rebels 24/7. Make sure you check all of that out. I think 7, 8, 9 content items yesterday, of course, over the course of the day, depending on how you want to determine a content item. We wrote about multiple things Pete Golding said, Trinidad Chambliss content. Elias Camberdown is coming back next season for the Rebels. That kind of got buried because of all the football stuff going on in the moment, but Ole Miss is going to keep Elias. They want to play him off ball, not a ton of points. It's not a ton of point guard, there, but we'll see who joins him over the next few weeks. Again, we're a week away from the portal opening, April 7th, the date for the basketball portal opening up. Right now, all your pre-portaling activity is alive and well and running rampant. We got, again, the baseball story from yesterday. Got quick hits if you just want to see what Pete said in short form. I paraphrased all that in real time, and then got a lot of interaction. I went to the football roster yesterday and talked about what players added and dropped at least 5 pounds since the fall roster was put out there. So that is up also at Rebels 24/7 this morning. So giving a little outline of the day. Again, we went out on the practice fields 10, but it's pretty on time, 10:45, 10:50, something like that. Neil and I were the two that followed directions. We were told to go to the bottom of the steps at the outdoor practice fields, and we did that. We took a bit of a circuitous, we took a bit of a hidden but very accurate route to those steps, and we were waiting, ready to go right there. Everybody else went into the building first, did not read the updated thing, just bad media there, but we were ready to go. We got out on the steps. And
you were impressed. You were impressed with my knowledge of your
navigational skills through that area. Yes, I was not optimistic. I will be very frank publicly as we started walking. I'll be real.
I knew where I was going. I've been on those practice fields enough. I know my way around. I figured it out.
Were you shocked because we had that group behind us of other media members? Were you shocked they didn't follow us? Because what they did, they let us wander in our direction alone at that point.
I don't know.
Yes and no.
Okay. I mean, yes and no. There's a pack mentality on the beat that I don't know that you and I subscribe to.
Okay, so yeah, it. I turned around. I was kind of like, they're coming too. I was like, oh no, they're not. All right, we're headed up this way. So again, we walk onto the practice fields, and I'm again, whatever. I don't care. Little hidden secret here because it's going to be a topic every day, even though it's not our topic. And I think this is important though, from a listener, from a reader standpoint. And this is true. This is not an opinion. Practice access in this era is primarily for TV people and video people to get B-roll. That is the purpose of this access, for them to get some images and basic highlights to run with their news articles and their different content throughout the year. Same thing bowls do. They're not giving it out there for practice reports when you have access. It is for B-roll. And then downstream, a little bit of attendance ability as far as checking roll, if you will, as the season moves on. Those are really the two primary things. So, and Ole Miss is very in line with what everybody else in the SEC is doing. It's not different. It's not less. It's not whatever. It's all pretty much the same situation. But things have just changed in that way. 20 years ago, that probably wasn't the case, but that is the case now. That's what the purpose is. They can't just say TV people or people with video, so we're out there. But the days of giving us any type of access that constitutes true reporting of news is just not in any way what the purpose of this is at this point. So we walk onto the field, and I laughed because it was almost, again, I will give Pete this, in short time, he has been very on time. I mean, it's been ready to go and very on schedule. And it's like we walked across the threshold and the clock was set to 12 and it went boom, 11:59, 11:58, 11:57, and on down and on and down and down. And it hit 0, and they very loudly over the speakers called for individual drills. And when they did that, that was it. It was like, okay, you're out now. It was 90% special teams, mostly punt. It was punt more than special teams. It was punt. There was a little bit of on-air drills for linemen, and the quarterbacks were taking snaps from centers and throwing basically against air. That was what the 12 minutes consisted of. So anything beyond hey, this guy looks like this, and it was just impossible because most of the time there was just a big, I don't even know the word, scrum in the middle of the field where it was very hard to even dictate numbers from one to another. I do not think we'll get that same period every time. I was told yesterday they will mix it up a little bit on what access we get. Access could also extend a little bit from a time standpoint as the period goes on leading up to April 25th with Meet the Rebels Day. But yeah, look, this is just simply not going to be a spring period for evaluation or observation. So that's that. I just feel like this was the appropriate time for the 3-minute disclaimer of kind of where we are with this and explain exactly what it was that we got, because I know it. I feel like in some ways when I do this, people get frustrated with me, and I'm not just like letting the joke play out. But at the same time, I do think it's very valid to say, hey, this is exactly what it was. So I'm not really sure what I'm supposed to do with that. And thus here we are. So yeah, anyway. Okay. I'm good.
And then you see some of what was done with 12 minutes yesterday, and I'm honestly surprised that we get that much. I totally get it. I hate being that way because you're not supposed to be that way in media. You're supposed to fight for the access. I've never fought for access. Just not something I'm going to do. But I watch and I'm like, I get it completely. I'm not sure I'd give any.
A little bit of
media come out there and they create headaches. They just do. It's. I'm trying not to just make even more enemies here, but it's wild, honestly. Some of it. It's crazy.
Here's your PSA for today, by the way. Just seeing some stuff this morning. Today is April Fool's Day, so take everything with grains of salt as your day moves on. I kind of hate this day a little bit. So yeah, go ahead and just be aware of that as our morning continues. Twitter is already very active in trying to fool people this morning. So there's that. The highlight of the day was Pete Golding speaking yesterday, and he was good. We have not heard from Pete since the Miami game in that kind of in that kind of capacity, and he was not corporate. I thought he was careful in answers that needed some level of carefulness, and I thought otherwise very detailed and honest when it came to what they are trying to build and how, and even discuss some issues with last year's roster, how they were trying to fix them, what the setup looks like. You got a really good blueprint overall from Ole Miss and from Pete yesterday in a press conference that went, 25, 27 minutes, 30 minutes, and could have gone longer. They just stopped it at that time. I think there was still more questions. So I don't think you have to worry about him clamming up and not being himself. Like I said, I think he was very much himself yesterday. Neil wrote about the Luke Farrelly answer, and I thought it was a pretty good answer because he highlighted their relationship prior to anything that had been talked about. Said that he did not feel like this was the time to use the podium as a pulpit, so he wasn't going to do the Dabo thing. But he emphasized the relationship with the kid. He emphasized that the kid ended up where he wanted to be, and he emphasized that they had the kid on the visit prior to any of that and had offered him essentially the leader of the defense position. He called it a green dot, but the speaker system, the communicator on the defensive side. But at that point, TJ Daugherty had not left. So once Daugherty left, there was re-engagement between the two parties per Golding, and then he highlighted that he ended up where he wanted to be and that they clearly wanted him as well. So I thought, all in all, after this much hubbub and something that's still ongoing as a situation, the answer was pretty clean. I thought the answer was pretty good.
A few things. Will Hawk in the stream says he handled the Clemson question very well. I'm not surprised it was brought up, but he shut it down too. I didn't even think he shut it down. I mean, it had to come up. That had to be asked, and that was a little glimpse behind the scenes. I got a phone call, Chase, 4 minutes before Pete got there, and I had to take it. It was a tip about Cameradine, and I knew I had about 10 minutes to write the story, and so the first 10 minutes of Pete Golding's press conference, I was listening, but I wasn't listening. I was pulling a photo from USA Today Images. I was building a shell of a story. I was trying to get that done because I knew I had about 10 minutes to get that story up before it broke. So I was planning to ask follow-ups about the Clemson thing, but I honestly was not sure what had been asked, and so I didn't. So I thought Pete handled the answer very well. I thought it was quite interesting. I'll tell you what I read into it. TJ Daugherty had a bad game against Miami in Arizona, and it told me that I don't know this, but I read into this. I read into this that I was told when they got back that there were multiple players on defense that had one-on-ones with Golding, and I'm guessing Daugherty was one of those, and I'm guessing that meeting did not go well, and Farrelly became more of a priority than he was pre-Fiesta Bowl.
Yeah, I think, especially after the Miami game, as you said, I think Ole Miss it's not spin. I think they are being very honest when they said they needed to upgrade at linebacker. And they believe Farrelly gives them the ability to do that for sure.
Yeah, they weren't good at linebacker
no,
last
they
year.
weren't.
They weren't. I mean, they were. It almost cost them in the Sugar Bowl against Georgia. They, had that 2nd and 2 where they made a really strong play and put Kirby Smart in a weird spot, and they threw the incompletion, and the rest. They scored a touchdown right there, and the game basically over, and it would have been pinned on linebacker play that day. It also tells you how effed up the calendar is. I mean, think about this for a minute. Ole Miss got back into Oxford around 5, 6 a.m. on January the 2nd. They had to leave for Phoenix on January the 6th.
I think that's right. Because I know I got there on the 6th. Yeah, got there on the 6th. And in between, not only did they have to game plan, recover, blah, 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 they had to bring guys in on official visits for the portal. I mean, the calendar's whacked on so many levels. But no, I mean, I thought that's what I thought. He gave his side of the story. I mean, I wanted to ask a follow-up, but I wasn't sure if it had been asked, so I just couldn't do it. I wanted to ask, were you bothered by Dabo Swinney's account? Were you bothered by him trying to make you sort of the poster child for tampering? But I wasn't really positive what exactly he had addressed in his answer, because you've been there before where you're writing something and you're also in a press conference and you sort of hear, but you don't really. And so, I don't know, but I went back and read it, and I was like, it was really not a need for follow-up. He gave his side of the story, and the question was phrased more of, hey, this happened, this happened, this happened. I'm just giving you a chance to respond. Thoughts?
Yeah.
That was sort of the way the question was posed by Sam Hutchins.
Yeah, it was fair, and he did. Yeah, I mean, I think he knew that question was coming. Had to. And that he added new details that I didn't know. I didn't know that Farrelly had been to Oxford on an official visit before the Fiesta Bowl. I knew they'd recruited him, but I didn't know that the visit had happened. It just, again, I as I heard that, I was like, wow, that was, what a week that must have been. You're dealing with all the portal stuff, assistant coaches, Charlie Weiss going back and forth. You've got guys in on visits.
Trying to keep guys from visits, from getting in the portal.
Chaos.
From the tampering.
Chaos. And what you want to say is fix it. It's so fixable. It's just so easily fixed. It's total. There's such an easy way to do this, Chase. It really is.
I tell you the one thing, and I think
I'm going to grab some water real quick. I'm not going to be able to keep talking.
Yeah, you're good. I think that one thing from yesterday that stands out to me, and I think Pete's going to be a very honest communicator when it comes to his coaching tenure and talking to media and fans. I mean, I think he's going to give you just enough of his own personality. He's going to get on those roles where he's just talking and explaining. He's really good at sort of the depth the depth of it. But you're what you get this year, which is great for media and great for fans, is an extra level where just human nature wise, if you've been the coach for a while and you had inadequacies on your roster, you're still going to talk about them, but they're yours. It's a little less likely that you're going to go into this massive detail regarding mistakes that you made. But Pete, because he has been at Ole Miss now this is going into his 4th season, he's had a ton of success. Frankly, Lane's success since bringing on Pete, starting in 23, was much higher than prior to that. Now, again, a lot of reasons for it, but still. And Pete can discuss all the program successes and failures and deficiencies and advantages without them being his failures. And I think right now that's a pretty good place for communication purposes, because where I'm going to go in the next segment in a minute is Pete talked a lot about where his structure plans to be for this program and how to navigate the spring and the summer and into the fall, and the areas where they simply had to get better and where they have to get better positionally and just instead. But again, he has all the knowledge of being in the building and understand those things, but then he's not struggling with the, hey, it's your fault, it's your problem, I'm explaining my own inadequacies, because they're Lane's. So it creates an extra communication valve that maybe you don't always get in those ways, where he can just simply talk about it without there being this elephant that he caused it in some way. And I think that came out a little yesterday as he was discussing some of the depth and some of the structure issues as they need to repair going into the fall, and they're trying to do that. Neil asked one of those questions. I think he wrote about it yesterday, and then there were a few more that were hinting on some of these same things. So we'll get to that after the break in a second. Before we do that, let me tell you about Northeast Spark. I am losing my voice a little bit now. Fastest, most reliable fiber internet option available. Whether you're streaming the Rebels or connecting with family and friends, they offer both residential and business packages with speeds up to 2 gigabits. To learn more, register for service. That's nespark.com. NeSpark. Get connected. Stay local.
Yeah, mine is, for whatever reason, almost gone. Almost had a great portal season. You can too. Do you have an old IRA or 401k with a former employer? Is that money stuck with a bad team, not living up to its full potential? You can put that account in the transfer portal. Let a fellow Rebel professionally manage it for you. It's Andrew Seago Wealth Management. He can build a playoff caliber portfolio just for you. Book a discovery call today at rebelsretire.com or 901-482-2676. We're also brought to you by Art Hayes, Sotheby's International Realty. I'll have a mailbag up at Rebels 24/7, probably late today. That's brought to you by Art. Put the power of Sotheby's to work for you as a licensed agent with Sotheby's, a supporter of all things Ole Miss. Art can help you buy or sell in your hometown or anywhere in the world at no charge to you at 612-805-5929. Or email art at arthur.hayes@lakesmn.com. We're also brought to you by Comer Heating and Air, Southern Air Conditioning and Heating. Different names, same great people, products, and services. If you live in Oxford, Batesville, Tupelo, or the surrounding area, call Comer 662-801-1777. If you live in Memphis, South Haven, those areas, call Southern 662-429-4429. We're also brought to you by ENT Physicians of North Mississippi. It's the largest private ENT practice in the state. Their goal is simple. They deliver fast, expert, comprehensive care for patients of all ages with ENT, allergy, sinus, dizziness, balance, and voice-related needs. You can get same-day appointments and more. They're in New Albany, Starkville, Tupelo, Corinth, and other locations. ENTNorthMississippi.com or call 662-844-6513.
Does your home and auto insurance keep going up? With the folks at the firm, a proud Liberty Mutual and Safeco Insurance agency partner, take a look. Founded by Ole Miss alum Brian Hayden, they service the entire Southeastern Conference. Let the team of licensed professionals review your insurance needs, put together coverages to protect you and your family without breaking the bank. Consultation by calling 662-236-1101 or staff at thefirmsouth.com. Obviously, Kiffin, for years, had talked about pro mindsets and all those things, but Pete outlined a pretty professional structure for his team yesterday. One of the more interesting things that he talked about, I thought it was sort of the main theme of the entire day, and how he is trying to convert it into an NFL program to the extent that is possible versus a college one. talked about implementing an OTA style offseason. Look, I think that's going to become much more commonplace even in the rules and the way that it's allowed. But it's already moving in that direction anyway. Everything from ground up, from tempo, install, tempo, and eventually game week simulation. He created 3 phases when he talked about yesterday. First was simply that install, the mental reps that are needed. He talked about because of the number of transfers that you have on any roster, getting them acclimated to the system and the plays and the mental work that is there has to happen before you go anywhere else. Then after that, they get into going through things and understanding tempo and understanding game speed and practice speed. And that's sort of where they are to some extent currently. And then he plans to move into even simulating game weeks during the spring and into the summer to whatever degree that's possible, because he wants them to go ahead and understand what the Tuesday looks like, the Wednesday, the Thursday before they ever get here. He talked about some different technological ways that they are trying to make that happen. And I thought he was pretty candid about depth issues and where they had to improve, that there was too big of a gap last year between the first guy and the second guy at a lot of positions, that they simply didn't have people who could play on that second team to the level that was required to go where they wanted to go. And now, and he mentioned it, you've got a 9-game SEC schedule that's simply not survivable if you do not have workable depth across the board at every position. So between portal, recruiting, development, all that stuff, I think his quote was winning football on deck was what he kept using there a couple times when he was discussing the different quotes, but not just starters, but that playable depth across the board. And you mentioned it a second ago with Daugherty. He tied a lot of stuff into that Miami game. He talked about their defensive line not being good enough on the second level in that game, getting tired out. Said he caught up with them. He said he discussed getting a lot of positions to the point that defensive line is where you have the homegrown guys like Eccles and Franklin and those people, and then you're supplementing in some ways. Because I think you asked that question of how do you evaluate what the roster should look like from one year to the next. But he discussed balance when it comes to that, but then also said there's no easy answer and it might not look the same every day or every year. But I do think he did his absolute best to give you an accurate glimpse of at least what's on his mind there.
Absolutely. I thought he was completely honest with the question that a lot of coaches would have blown off.
Yeah.
Or not answered because they don't really want to answer it, because you have pockets of fan bases and pockets of media that hold you to every word. And if something looks different, they're like, but you said. And so he was very clear about, look, it could look different every year. It depends. He talked about wanting to sign high-level high school players, likely from a 5-hour radius.
Yes.
Who wanted to be there. I mean, one of the quotes that I thought was fascinating, I don't remember the exact words, but I'd rather you not come than come and leave.
That was a good quote, yeah.
I thought that was fascinating.
They wanted return on investment, I think was what he said.
Yep. They're not worried about ratings. I was like, thank God. Good. Because his predecessors, and I'll give Kiffin credit for this, I don't think Kiffin ever gave too much of a damn about that stuff. He liked being number one in the portal.
He liked being the portal king.
He liked being the portal king. He liked that thing. He thought it worked for them in recruiting, and in fairness, it probably did.
Sure.
But I don't think he ever really worried about the high school rankings. He thought that those were sort of antiquated. Pete's been at a place, Alabama, longer than Lane was, where developing players into a system, he talked about it. Year one, you learn the system. Year two, you learn you become more technical. In year three, you see the other side of the ball and understand what they're trying to do against you. There is a process, a system. So he talked about how if ideally you can add the high school guy, get him to stay, develop him, he's more advanced when he gets on the field than the portal guy who comes in and has to learn the system and be ready to go in 6 months. I thought that was all really interesting to me. And yet he admitted, which I respected a lot, because a lot of these guys don't want to act like there's unknowns. he admitted, hey, it you never know, right? I mean, you can bring guys in and you think that they're happy and they leave. Or you can, think you're getting someone and you don't. And then you have to supplement out of the portal. Or you make like he said, you make an evaluation mistake. It's not science. People make eval mistakes all the time. Watch the NFL. Watch the NFL draft. There will be first round bust. And it won't be because they didn't work their asses off to evaluate these guys. It'll be because they missed. It won't be a lack of effort. It won't be a lack of work or study or any of that. It will be they missed.
Well, as you said, NFL GMs miss every single draft after spending just days and weeks and months, and they know everything down to everything. And it's still humans. Just don't know.
Sometimes you can't measure, some of the intangibles. And I mean, you know me. I mean, it's one of the things I do in the press box sometimes is I try to talk to the NFL guys. And if anything, I think they overscout.
Yeah, because they find every flaw and then try to figure out whether it matters. And then obsess over them. Over and over and over again.
Their jobs are on the line. I mean, I get why they do it. But I know some of them who really, really dive deep and they've still missed. I mean, I know one that dove super deep in a year we had 2 first-round picks, and he nailed one and bombed one. I mean, crushed one and then bombed one. It probably cost him his gig.
Going to get into Trinidad in a second. A couple questions there. I'll get to those out of the stream. I did laugh because I have seen this out in public. Somebody asked Pete what's been different, and I don't have the exact quote, but he said it's when you try to go out and eat and do normal shit was what his answer was there. That he said it's amazing what a job title does for people wanting to talk and looking at you and coming up and the whole deal, because he's very uncomfortable in that set. He would like to be left alone when he's out and about, which I understand completely. I get that. That is not a criticism from my comment at all. But I think I've told him. I may have said on the podcast. I saw him at that Waffle House one time, and he was at the counter and he turned his entire body toward his child, where like you had to step in between he and his child if you wanted to interact in that environment with him. He ate the whole meal kind of knees turned toward the kid at the counter. So again, it just from a levity standpoint, it kind of cracked me up when he said it yesterday. I found it funny, but he's right. Look, it's truth. It is what it is.
Yeah, I mean,
and look, Oxford and Ole Miss doesn't bother people nearly as bad as some places. Like they leave you alone for the most part. I think it's one of the reasons why former players come back as much as they do.
Oh, it could be.
Small town, but you get left alone. Yeah. I know Eli talked about that a lot when he was here. That I mean, really, it wasn't anything of note.
Yeah, I mean, I've told the story before. I was in a spin class next to Eli Manning months after he'd won the Super Bowl. He might as well have just put another person in there.
Did you peek over at what he was doing from an efficiency standpoint, try to match it? Did y'all get to racing a little bit?
I did not.
Yeah. I hate spin. I just don't like it. It does not suit myself very well. I don't
I'm the same.
Very well.
I have a Peloton, and I try to make myself get on it, but I'd much rather get out and run. And then my knee wakes up at 3 a.m. screaming at me about why did you do that?
You would say you will not do another marathon.
I don't think it's physically possible.
Yeah. Question in the stream. Let's see. What do we got? Eddie, he says, you think Lane will respond to Trinidad saying Pete is, quote, more of a team guy? That was Trinidad's one quote of any real significance. I thought he was pretty buttoned up yesterday, even compared to the fall. He's probably a little tired. Been a lot of stuff going on with Chambliss. I'm gonna give him a pretty large pass with all the court stuff and all the mess and everything that has happened. Even though he's been, I think, completely confident in the result of the process from the beginning. But I thought he was. I thought he was careful, and when I say jittery, I don't mean nervous to talk to us schmucks. Jittery is in he was ready to go. He just did not want to be there yesterday, which I can respect. But that's kind of that was my read on it.
Yeah, and I think he's probably tired of talking about the court case and all the stuff, and
yeah,
I mean, are you I mean, the answer to were you ever really worried is no, I wasn't worried. I knew I was going to win, and he did. And yet I'm sure there was some trepidation about what if or whatever, but he's probably ready for spring to end and to get into the summer part of this where they get ready without a bunch of media and cameras and stuff. Although I'm sure he's going to have a pretty busy media blitz this summer, early fall would be my guess.
Well, and I think he had to get yesterday over with. You're going to get those questions, and then I don't think you're going to get them again. It's going to all move on, and that was the one time that you have to deal with any of that. Yeah, because when you ask him true football questions, he gave answers that very much probably excited the fan base. He gave what had to be honest answers because, again, I mean, he was asked – the question was essentially what's the difference with Pete, and he did. I mean, and look, that's not it's just the truth. Like somebody said, do you think Lane's going to respond? All this kind of stuff. It was one of Ole Miss's biggest wins in the Kiffin circus was that Kiffin was not very tight with players. He was not a player's coach. I mean, that's not a shot at Kiffin. He won a lot of games without being a player's coach, but he was in no way a player's coach. The relationships were with the assistant coaches and the players, and that's one of the reasons why Ole Miss came out of it to the level of positive that they did once that change happens. If you had a huge players coach that was still in the building for a little while after he'd made his mind up, and Lane definitely freaking was, and you had that level of success and you're leaving for another program that's on the same level, then yeah, of course you're going to lose more guys. But Lane had no relationships. And now I do find this interesting in and of Chambliss's answer is that he was probably closer to Trinidad than maybe any player but one or two. So even if Trinidad is saying that shows you the low ceiling when it came to being close to players and tight with players and whatnot. Because I mean, you really only ever saw Lane with Trinidad, Kewan, and Winston Watkins, and that was pretty much it. And Lane did not go out of his way to elevate Trinidad's Heisman campaign. And that's for dang sure. Because that would have took attention off Lane for you to do that, which is not acceptable. So yeah, Trinidad was fine. He's good to go. Fine. Pete was asking about quarterback depth yesterday. Sorry, the race for the number 2 quarterback job on the 4th day of spring. And number 1, it's a certifiable lock. Deuce Knight. I mean, they're paying Deuce to. I mean, basically starter money. I mean, he's absolutely the heir apparent in every way when it comes to this team. But Pete started giving like an answer to just appease it and move on, and then he stopped and he goes, "Hey, don't get it twisted. Trinidad's the quarterback. Like, hey, let's not do this thing right here." God. I don't know. I laughed out loud. I was like, "Yeah, let's put that disclaimer in that's the case." Yeah, the LSU media is getting more answers from Lane, but they are getting very frustrated when he doesn't answer things that he was never going to answer, and that it's just not who he is. It's
such a complicated topic. I mean, it's one of these things that to be honest about it, to be transparent about it, to dive into it, you almost have to insult people, and I don't really want to do that. It's complicated, and if you want to be fair about it, and I do, you'd have to give a very detailed answer, and that would ruffle some feathers, and I don't want to do that. Yes, he's giving better answers. He's giving probably more access. There's a lot to that.
The access has been fairly similar. It's not crazy different. Like he gave him 25 minutes yesterday. Gave him very little the first day. I know everything is going to get graded on what he did last year versus this year, and it's just the world we're in, at least for a season. But at the same time, Lane is not going to just completely change his entire process and give things he doesn't want to give. I mean, it's just not going to happen.
Well, I mean, I was watching some of their practice footage somewhere the other day, and the music that was played was exactly the same stuff that was played at Ole Miss.
Yeah.
I mean, and in fairness to Lane, and I know I say that more than people want me to say it, but I do want to be fair. It worked at Ole Miss. They went 11-1. It worked. Why would you, just because you're changing the visor and the polo, why would you change a whole lot about what you do?
Mm-hmm.
Not saying that means it's going to work the same way at LSU. I'm not saying that at all. I don't know. But, I mean, in terms of processes and stuff, you're not going to go down there and reinvent the wheel. They paid you a lot of money to bring the wheel there. I mean, it's the same songs. It's everything. I mean, I think there's a lot of people that are trying to read too much into stuff with that.
Oh, that's a good question. What music was playing yesterday at Ole Miss's practice? I don't even know.
I was trying to get some video for subscribers.
I guess music was playing?
There was some music playing. I just don't remember it.
It was not something that stuck out. And most of the time, Lane's didn't necessarily stick out. Hughes did because he'd go into heavy Christian from some days. But, like, I don't
Lane
know.
Was pretty eclectic. They would mix in some country with some rap, with some Taylor Swift, with some.
It's like you shuffled your entire Spotify catalog.
Yeah.
I didn't notice it being overly loud yesterday. Sometimes lanes would be where you couldn't hear the person next to you. I didn't notice it being anything odd from a volume standpoint yesterday.
I just didn't notice.
I'll tell you the one thing, and it's legal and everybody's doing it. Do what? Sometimes
when Lane, during his time, when you would shoot those videos, you would get copyright strikes because the music was so loud. There was one, it was like Kesha, is that her name? One of her songs always was in the video, and you'd always get the get the copyright strike on it. Yeah.
Ace of Spades says we can be certain there was no music playing at Memphis's practice. Yeah, Charles Huff gave that quote the last couple of days that if he what was the exact quote? I need to look it up to be verbatim, but he compared Memphis practicing football to the military, and that basically the Navy SEALs don't listen to music before they go in on a raid or something like that. It's like, okay, Charles, let's back down a little bit. Let's calm down.
The Navy SEALs, if they make a mistake, die. It's just. Oh my God, the meatheads.
When the Navy SEALs get ready to go on a mission, they're not listening to Lil Baby. When they go training to go to war, they ain't listening to NBA Youngboy. That was the quote.
I mean, true. Not really sure what that has to do with football, but.
Ole Miss's day was in no way impacted because they had some music playing at a normal decibel yesterday, I can promise. Practice went fine. Went all right. Sometimes it gives you a little rhythm as you're moving.
It looked like every other football practice I've seen.
Which makes us bad judges because we've seen hundreds or thousands of football practices at this point. You kind of go, I don't know. I wasn't really. I tell you, sorry, what I was going to say is the one thing, and this is just the world we're in 2026. And Ole Miss and every SEC school does this. Just the number of coaches and bodies out there. It is so many. And he mentioned that. I thought that was a revealing quote. Sorry, I'm kind of glad I led myself there. He mentioned that you had multiple coaches at every position, and he wanted them to strengthen each other's weaknesses and have some ability to feed off of one another in positive ways. Basically, he didn't want the same type of guy for the second, third coach at a certain position. He was answering about John Garrison being assisted by Terrence Metcalf, but it made me think he's got Washington in coaching receivers. You've got Patrick Carter back at that position. You got Spurlock with that position as well. I know he's a recruiting specialist, but Moncrief is around. They just have a lot of bodies that have specialties in different ways that can assist, and it is a far different world. Really not even something that you compare to. So when people talk about, hey, why did you bring in this coach, and does he recruit well enough, or does he does whatever, it's like, no, you've got somebody else to do that. Every assistant at this point is pretty much a specialist in something, and then you work around them with the other people at that position or with the other bodies to maximize the entire position unit's ability to absorb information at that point. I think that's a huge change that probably has not gotten enough play just from a structure standpoint across college football at this point. So just something to mention there as we move forward. We'll come back in a minute. We'll talk a little more football and hit some other sports. When we do that, we'll tell you about the Jackson Graber Group with GMFS Mortgage. John Graber in Oxford, help all home buyers with a first home, new construction, or refinance. He's an expert in the condo financing market. Condo financing, a little tricky. Need an expert? He is one of those. Let him help you out. Local in-house processing, underwriting, servicing, and more. Wide range of loan options, and you can give him a call whether you're buying, refinancing, or just have questions. GMFSmortgage.com/JGG 662-762-4502.
We're brought to you by Arnett's Fine Jewelry. It's a fourth-generation jeweler located in the old Lamons building on North Lamar Avenue in Oxford. They, if you need jewelry, you're looking for jewelry for gifts, for yourself, whatever the case may be, they got you, whatever you're looking for. It's great for birthdays, graduations, anniversaries, and more. They've got everything you're looking for. And at Arnett's, they want to be your jeweler. We're also brought to you by the College Corner. Got all the Rebel gear that you are seeking, more than 4,000 square feet of it, right there off of Sisk Avenue in the Oxford Commons. They got plenty of parking. They'll have you in and out and ready for the game in no time with all the brands and colors you're looking for: Nike, Horn Legend, Champion, Antigua, just to name a few. It's collegecornerstore.com. And since its inception in 1873, Coors Banquet has been brewed in the same tradition of the original 150-year-old recipe. Banquet, crafted with 100% Rocky Mountain water. So when you're enjoying a banquet, you are drinking history. You can call Argent Welts 401k Advisory Services team today, and they'll conduct a complimentary, no-obligation benchmarking and analysis of your current 401k plan. Mention that you heard about Argent on the MPW Digital, on this podcast, on Mind of My Money, whatever. You'll get 10% off your first year's fees. It's myargentwealth.com.
Podcast is brought to you by Horn Legend, hornlegend.com. They sponsor my weekly Around the Horn content that'll be out sometime tomorrow prior to Ole Miss in Florida getting going from Gainesville tomorrow evening. Horn Legend, a great place for your polos, your sports shirts, the dress shirts that are great material to keep you cool in these warmer months. You can wear them to church. You can wear them to business meetings. Kind of dry fit type material. You can wear them out if you're going to be outside for a little while too. They're not going to wrinkle. They're not going to mess up on you. Great option there from Horn Legend. We'd love for you to click the drop down. Say MPW Digital is how you heard about them. Again, that is hornlegend.com. Somebody asked earlier, no, I am not going to Gainesville for baseball this week. I will not be there for that. So, let's see. Do what? Slacker? Yeah.
Slacker.
Well, yesterday, I was laughing at this. I told Neil the story when we were just chatting after all the stuff yesterday. There's probably a time where I would not have gotten interviews yesterday, and I would have just listened to somebody. So the game ended. Ole Miss again beat Little Rock 7-4 yesterday. And I'm not going to stay on baseball a ton of time. I'm going to hit two things, and I'll move on. They went 7-4, and football practice was at 10:40. Pete was at 12:20, 12:15, something like that.
Yeah.
Got done with he and Trinidad.
Pete walked in at right at 12. Right at 12:20 because, I had 10 minutes on the Cameradine story.
So it was basically 1-ish when I walked over to baseball after we got done with Pete and Trinidad. and there was no other media members there. It was a completely empty press box outside of the Ole Miss interns and creative people that sit in there for social media and video and different things. And I watched the game, watched some kids dancing, did all the normal Kids Day stuff. The kids started leaving, and then most of the kids were gone by the, I don't know, bottom of the 7th, top of the 8th, something like that. And as the game ends and I go to get up and walk down to the field for interviews, one of the student workers, she goes, "Hey, no interviews today." I was like, "What do you mean? I don't understand." She goes, "Yeah, I talked to the communications director." Was like, "Yeah, we're not doing any interviews." And I was like, I know I like cocked my head sideways like a cocker spaniel would when they get confused by something. I was like, I don't. What do you mean? So I try to call somebody, they don't answer, and then as I go to get up, she reiterates again, like, "Hey, no, like I don't like. There's nothing. We were told there's nothing." And I was like, "Well, I mean," I kind of joked, and I mean, it was not her fault. She was relaying, "I'm not in any even 1% saying something negative about the student workers." She was relaying the way she understood the conversation. But I said, "Well, I'm going to have to Mike's going to have to tell me no. I'm going to go down, like whatever." But in my head, I thought 20 years ago, I would have just said, "Okay." You know what I mean? Like there is a point you get to with just comfort probably at your job where you go, this doesn't make any sense, like whatever. But I kind of laughed in my head and went, there was probably several years earlier in my career when I just walked to the parking lot and went, "Okay, well, we're not doing it today for this reason or that reason or whatever."
Was that news to him?
Who, Mike?
Yeah.
Oh yeah. I mean, it was a miscommunication because, and this made sense. Like I said, it was just confusion. What would happen was since I wasn't there at the start of the game, I think somebody told the content people who go down to shoot video of the press conferences and the media stuff after the games, "Hey, obviously, if no media comes, don't come down because we won't do anything." So I think it was more of that situation. And then they didn't relay once. Do what?
So you were by yourself, you and him. Did they go shoot it? Or
no, they did not. No.
Okay.
Yeah, no, they didn't shoot it. So I walked down.
My complaint in basketball was that it really bugged me a lot. It bugged me a lot.
Yeah, no, I've got several thoughts on that one. So they did not come down. I was by myself with Mike, and we chatted for a minute. One thing he did say that probably is some level of news, and I'm going to write about this tomorrow, but I asked him for details on kind of why he's doing Taylor Rabe on Thursday, Hunter on Friday, and then Cade Townsend on Saturday. And as you and I both knew very much, so he said he just simply could not move Cade off that final day. It's already having to move up one as is. There was no even conversation about that. He said that, because I told him, I said, "Mike, you usually move the ace up. I very rarely know you to not do that." And he said, "You're right." He goes, the pitching coach, Joel Mangrum, he goes, "Joel came to me and said, look, Hunter's really getting in a groove right now. I don't really want to move him. I'd like to keep him on his exact schedule for the week, his bullpen the normal day. I just don't want to tinker with Hunter as he's starting to round into form the way that we believe he can pitch. And since Rabe is somewhat of a fill-in where he is coming into it for the first time, he has no schedule as far as that goes." So he said it had nothing to do with who Florida was throwing. It was merely a suggestion to try to protect Hunter with his current streak as they were moving forward, and that's the reason for it. So again, I'll verbatim the conversation, but it made sense to me.
Yeah, it's kind of what I would have guessed yesterday.
Yeah.
Certainly the Townsend part of it was, to me, a no-brainer for everyone involved, and it makes a ton of sense on Hunter. He's been pitching really well on Friday. Leave him on Friday.
Yeah, you change his bullpen day, you change stuff, you're going to switch back next week, just here. Okay.
Yeah, you're going to have one weird start in there somewhere anyway because you haven't established who your third starter is.
Well, he said something that I've been thinking, and I think we talked about on this podcast this week, that I have not heard Mike ever say before, because typically he's been so geared toward that Friday start, is he said that he didn't really want to put Rabe in for game 2, which feels like maybe the most important game of the weekend because you're trying to even it back up or win a series, that he thought that having Hunter with experience on that second day even gave some benefit if you had to throw Rabe in a day, that mentally let him lead off knowing Hunter is coming the next day and it probably relieves some level of pressure for your first SEC start.
Yeah, it makes sense.
I can get it. Yeah,
Sure.
That's not crazy.
No, it's not a stretch to. That's not a logical stretch. I get that. Yeah, sure.
But it tells you where Ole Miss is right now. They had lost 4 in a row. They were down 3-1 to Little Rock going into the 5th inning yesterday. They load the bases with 1 out. They get a strikeout. There's 2 outs. And it's looking like Groundhog Day. And Will Furnace comes up, and he hits a 3-run double down the left field line. Ole Miss goes up 4-3 at the time. They add on. They end up winning 7-4. It was mostly comfortable past that point. And I think my opening line to Mike was that felt like a really important at bat to be the 5th inning of a midweek. And he said, well, I just told Brad Henderson, the radio color commentator, he goes, I just told Henderson that I think it was the second most important hit of the season. And that almost kind of took me aback because that was bigger than I would have said in my head. He said, other than Tristan Bassetta's grand slam against Texas that led to the win there, he goes, I think that mentally was as big of a hit as we've had this year because you don't get that one. He goes, we're still down in the game. He said, I've got a bunch of young pitchers having to win this game today. I'm not going to throw critical arms if I can help it outside of Waters at the end. He said it just felt like, oh, this is going to be a here we go again, and they kind of have another negative body language moment and another miss. And he said instead you kind of reverse that a little bit. And it shows you that I thought it showed you a really good glimpse into his psyche is that I do think he's pretty worried about their mindset right now as they head to Gainesville tomorrow. That level of play was under that type of microscope for the head coach. That's somewhat telling as they get on a plane today.
It's cliche, and I've said it too many times to say it without getting probably made fun of, but they're not robots. It's not as simple as numbers. It's the part of it that is difficult when you have a team that scuffles, that has high expectations, that has a tremendous microscope on it, the way Ole Miss does, that's coming off of a really difficult week and getting ready to go play a really difficult opponent on the road, and everybody can do their own math when you're 3-6. They lost to Memphis last week, a loss to UAL, Little Rock, whatever would have been a tough one at home. You start to your dreams of hosting a regional, of being a national seed, aren't as bright as they were just a couple of weeks ago. Yeah, you can start getting a little tight, or a lot down, or you start to doubt yourself, or you start to press. And the good news is sometimes a hit like that one, I'm not saying that's going to lead to some renaissance because who knows, right? But sometimes a hit like that one will take some pressure off and guys will relax a little and the hitting becomes contagious. And next thing you know, you're having some offensive success.
Ace of Spades is very right in the stream because it seems like mental fortitude and the ability to persevere as a team will often be the biggest hurdle in the transfer portal across all sports. Yeah, it's 2 things. There's no way to 100% guarantee that a rise up in the transition from a lower level to a higher level is going to compute. There's just no way. And then 2, yeah, it's 2 things. It's their mental ability to do it personally and as a team and chemistry, but it's also just their buy-in to care. Do they care about the program, or do they just come in for a paycheck and they don't really give a crap when they lose? Because you see that too.
And let's address the elephant in every locker room. Guys know who's making what.
Mm-hmm.
There's jealousy. There's animosity. There's human stuff. You think you're worth more than that guy. You can't believe that guy got that. That guy's playing, you think, because of the money. I'm not saying this is happening at Ole Miss. I'm saying this is happening everywhere. You have fractured locker rooms. It's new for coaches, and it's a challenge. this is still a pretty new era.
Yeah.
Of everyone in the locker rooms making X, and you for the most part, guys that come out of the portal get paid a premium, and they're sometimes making more than the guy who stayed. And the guy who stayed's like, man, I've been loyal to this place for X years, and this guy came in and he's making this much more than me. Screw that. That's happening everywhere. And yeah, there's less, like you said, there's not only less give a damn about the name on the front of the jersey, there's less give a damn about the guy next to you.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I talked to someone yesterday who said, hey, I don't think it's a coincidence that you look at the Final Four and it's full of teams that have been together for a while.
No, it's not a coincidence at all.
He said maybe it's a coincidence, but I don't think so.
Around the league last night was a weird night. Georgia was down 9-6 to Georgia State late. They end up winning 14-9. Kansas knocks off Missouri last night in Columbia 11-8.
Boy, I bet that was this night. God, rivalry game. Como, Tuesday
Border
night.
war, right?
Border war. Kansas comes to town.
Yeah. All the butts and seats, all 10s there in Como. Kentucky commits 3 errors but beats Miami, Ohio 14-11. I'm sure that was a fun midweek to be at. Florida last night does lose at home to Jacksonville. A Jacksonville team, the Dolphins, who are not very good. They're 2-7 in the Atlantic Sun to date. Vanderbilt wins again. Oklahoma shuts out Oral Roberts on the road. It's a pretty good Oral Roberts team. They're 6-0 in the Summit. There, that's in Tulsa, right? Isn't Oral Roberts in Tulsa?
Yeah, in Tulsa.
Okay. Georgia Tech pops Auburn last night in Atlanta, 13-3 over the Tigers. Yellow Jackets are good. They've got one of the better offenses in the league, in the country. I mean, it's some guys that were back from that team last year that was in Oxford. Tech's pretty good.
It's time to talk about Butch Thompson. It really is. I mean, this is unforgivable. I mean, you get run ruled.
He got swept over the weekend, right?
Yeah, got swept
4
by
in a
Alabama.
row.
Yeah, swept by Alabama, run ruled by Georgia Tech.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe the game has passed him by.
It's possible. So they say. Missouri State last night in Springfield, Hammondsfield, they beat Arkansas 15-14 in 10 innings.
I mean, that's 5 in a row. It's time. Maybe it's time for Dave Van Horn. It's 5 in a row.
Can't win a title. Keep screwing it up in Omaha.
Can't win a championship.
Should have 2, probably.
Should at least have 1, probably.
Oh, well, amen.
Now you're losing to Missouri State.
Missouri State's RPI, by the way, just keeps on hanging up there, and Ole Miss beat them up pretty good. That's one that I still think it's going to dive to a little bit of an extent, and probably a lot of an extent, but I just something to kind of watch there. They keep winning. I'm going to pull it up. They've made some hay in these midweeks. Yeah, Missouri State, I mean, we're into April now. Their RPI is 10. Just a note as we continue on. They got swept in Oxford. Yeah, somebody says Georgia Tech has 2 guys hitting sub 300, and it's 295 and 294. So that's where they are right now. Didn't Danny Hall retire? It's a new coach at Tech, right?
Yeah, he retired. Remember we did that story last year.
That's right. Yeah, that's right. Let's see. Anything else? Alabama wins at Jacksonville State last night. They played at Jim Case Stadium. They're in Dothan. Is that right? No, where's Jacksonville? Is it just Jacksonville?
Just Jacksonville. Yeah.
Okay, got it. Is Troy in Dothan?
Troy's in Troy. It's near Dothan.
Is nothing in Dothan? Okay, never mind. All right.
I mean, Dothan High School.
It's fine. Whatever. And then Southern was up 6-1 on LSU. I'm sure that was going really well in the moment there in Baton Rouge, but the Tigers win 16-6 and run rolled them to finish up the day. No SEC games today, and then let's see.
I bet you'll get this wrong. What do you think is the population as of 2020 of Dothan, Alabama?
Well, if you're asking me that, I mean,
Just asked you a question.
I know. I mean, had you not had it just been on a list, where did I expect it? I would have said like, I don't know, like 14,000 or something. But I don't know.
Not even close.
What is it?
71,250.
No kidding.
Alabama's 8th largest city by population, the 5th largest in Alabama by total area.
Oh dear God! No, I would have missed that by 50,000. Even with you telling me that.
The combined population of the entire Dothan metropolitan area in 2020 was 151,007.
Really?
Mm-hmm. Approximately 1/4 of the United States peanut crop is produced nearby, much of it processed in the city. Dothan is known as the peanut capital of the world.
Okay, I did know that.
It also hosts the annual National Peanut Festival at the Peanut Festival Fairgrounds.
Okay.
There you go.
The more you know.
In October 12th of 1889, Dothan was the scene of a deadly altercation resulting from a dispute over a tax levied on wagons operating within city limits.
Oh. Okay. Only 2 series are being played on Easter Sunday. Missouri, Kentucky, and LSU, Tennessee. So.
We should play Map Tap every day. We should pick up just a place on the map and talk about it.
We should.
I mean, it's summertime soon.
So is it in America or anywhere?
I think we should stick to American cities.
Okay. Well, yeah, definitely. I agree with you.
I mean, listen to the rest of this story. Local farmers opposed the levy and united in a body called the Farmers Alliance. The arrest of some of the alliance's men led to a riot that left 2 men dead and others seriously wounded. Chief of Police Toby Dominguez was found guilty of murder and sentenced to 10 years in prison, but appeals to the Alabama Supreme Court resulted in a new trial, and Dominguez was acquitted.
Oh.
1889.
1889. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
We'll take our final break. I have no way to segue out of that. We'll tell you about Chicory Market. Well, they probably have peanuts for sale. I've never bought them there, but they have a lot of dry goods, a lot of specialty items. I bet they've got peanuts. I can ask around. ChicoryMarket.com. Go to the events page to see their happy hours that go on every single Wednesday. They got live music all the way through April if you want to go by. They got specials on your alcoholic singles, your non-alcoholic singles. Sit in the atrium. Got good weather today. It's going to be warm. Head on over to Chicory Market while you're in there. See their meat options from Home Place Pastures, vegetables, fruits, and much more. Make it your grocery store of choice here in Oxford. Again, that is ChicoryMarket.com.
We're brought to you by John Edwards, Regency Travel Incorporated in Memphis. John is part of Virtuoso. Worldwide network of travel partners allows him to supply his clients with added values, unique benefits simply not available to other travelers. Get in touch with John if you're trying to plan a trip that creates a lifetime of unique memories. Give him some parameters. Give him a budget. He'll give you options that you probably won't find on your own. 901-494-3387 or send him an email, jedwards@regencytravel.net, and get the beautiful, healthy smile you deserve at Corinth Dental. Dr. Bubba McQueen, Dr. Jenny Beth Hendrick are devoted to restoring and enhancing the natural beauty of your smile using conservative state-of-the-art procedures that will result in a beautiful, long-lasting smile. From routine checkups to advanced treatment, including implants and Invisalign, Corinth Dental is here to help you achieve your smile goals. Schedule your appointment today. Take the first step toward a better version of yourself. It's corinthdental.com.
Podcast is brought to you by G&M Pharmacy, 662-236-2222. They deliver locally in the Oxford area and offer MedSync for your prescriptions at the same time each month and take care of you. One trip to the pharmacy, one delivery, Everything you need when you need it with G&M. Again, that's 662-236-2222. So the answer to this question, the stream is telling us that both Dothan, Alabama, and Suffolk, Virginia claim the title of the peanut capital of the world. However, they emphasize different aspects of the industry. Dothan is recognized as the world's primary peanut growing region. Nearly 50% of U.S. peanuts are grown within 100 miles of Dothan, Alabama, and hosts the National Peanut Festival. Suffolk is known for its history as the largest processing and marketing center, also the home to Planters peanuts. So, in essence, Dothan grows them, Suffolk traditionally processed them.
Oh.
That they coexist. They work together. That's the answer here.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
They should put a bowl game in Dothan, call it the Peanut Bowl.
They should.
Should.
It's big enough.
Yeah.
Do they have like a stadium that would be serviceable for anything there?
Let's see.
What's their city stadium?
They hosted minor league baseball teams from 1915 to 1917, and then again from 1936 to 1962.
Yeah, it doesn't feel like it.
City served host to the Ultimate Fighting Championship on February the 7th,
Okay.
1997 at the Dothan Civic Center.
That's fine. I'm good. You can stop. Did you see CB Buckner's latest gaffe last night in the Brewers-Rays game?
No.
Oh, you haven't seen this?
I've not.
Oh, you need to watch it in real time. You need to see this missed call. This is great.
Are you sending it to me?
Yeah. Hold on. This is worth everybody. So CB Buckner was the umpire who missed 6 calls behind home plate because of the ABS system that was going on, and then he's the first base ump last night. Hold on one second. And I'm going to get this to Mr. McCready. You have to stay with it until they show the replay. I just put it in the stream. Do you have the stream up?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. Just click the link there in the stream. Clay Travis tweeted about it, so that's where I've pulled it from. So watch the play and then hang on for the replay as well. The replay, when it shows the missed call, is the best part. Okay?
Okay.
For context, because you're not going to have audio, he is ruling that the batter missed first base and thus was out when he was tagged after that. Okay?
Okay.
I will wait. Hopefully everybody in the stream is following along if they have not.
Okay, the batter for the Brewers is like, wait, what?
Yeah, just watch for the replay.
Yeah, here's the replay. He steps right on the middle of the bag.
Right on the middle, and they freeze-framed it and showed his eyes. He was looking at home plate. He was not even looking at the first base bag, and he overruled a call or changed the call to out, saying he missed the bag.
Pat Murphy is fit to be tied.
And it doesn't take Pat much to be fit to be tied.
The runner is laughing because he's like, I know I touched the base. I hit it. In fact, I hit too much of the base to the point that I probably jammed my ankle.
Yeah, he caught the middle of the bag.
The Rays manager and Pat Murphy are laughing with one another like, can you believe this clown's still umpiring?
Yes.
They are literally enjoying the moment together. Wow.
It's time.
So Clay Travis's question here. Honest question, how close are we to robot AI umpires? If we have self-driving cars, couldn't we have umpires that are essentially 100% accurate?
I'm completely great on the ball strikes. I would like a human element to safe out with a replay system.
All right, so here's my deal I'm with you so that you know.
Yeah.
But I'm doing this for the sake of debate and a conversation. Why, if we can correct 3 calls a game, don't we just let a computer get them all right?
And my answer is more aesthetic than anything else.
Mm-hmm.
I think correcting them. I get it slows the game down. I understand all the reasons. I just think the human and then correcting leaves baseball a little closer to what we anticipate. Look, tennis could easily just have red and green and stop play with a whistle, but they still have the out judges and the lines judges that rule it and then get overturned. And everybody claps together as the call's happening and the ball hits, and it's part of the environment. And I think that's because we don't necessarily want robots to run it. We want robots to fix it. There's a difference.
Yeah, I mean, look, you need somebody back there because you have foul balls. I mean, and then in the major leagues, if the ball touches the ground, that's it. It's never going to be played again except for like BP. So you've got to have somebody distribute the baseballs.
Yeah.
And there's ruling, balk calls, and things of that nature. I mean, you need somebody back there, but I do wonder if Clay's right, if that's where it is headed over time. I hope not, but
yeah, I agree. Last thing, we're getting off in a minute. Were you anticipating the deal with Ilias to get done?
Yes, and it probably was a little faster than I thought it would get done. I thought it might take a little more time, but I know that they like him. They love his basketball IQ, they being the Ole Miss staff. They feel like he was probably played out of position and that the late arrival for him combined with the language gap was a lot to overcome. And I think they thought that late in the season, and I agree with them, late in the season, he played at a much more proficient level. And that if they get him in the right system with a point guard who can take some pressure off of him and allow him to facilitate offense off the ball, which is probably one of his strengths, knowing where to go, to keep moving, to relocate, to create a better shot for himself. Like, I think his three-point shooting percentage is bad. It's like 29% because he took a lot of bad threes. When he got open threes, he knocked them down. They just didn't – they messed it up at the point. I mean, they thought Corin Johnson would be better than he was. I think they thought Kezagifa would be better at this level than he was. And that forced them to go with Cameron at the point a lot. I mean, he'll still play some point guard, but he's got to do some other things to, maximize his impact on a team offensively. I will say this. I thought he was an underrated defender, and I thought you saw that in the tournament. I thought he was very impactful against both Alabama and Arkansas those last couple of days defensively. Really gave Darius Acuff problems in that Arkansas game. Let Ole Miss stay kind of in that game early. I don't know if you remember. You were covering baseball. You might not have even watched, but Arkansas kind of went on a run in the first half of that game where you went, we're about to see the tired legs take hold. And then Cameron, I thought, made a couple of really big defensive plays to get Ole Miss back in the game, and then the rest of it was nip and tuck till the end. But they have a lot of work to do to make this team better. But I thought that was a big step. And again, I think continuity matters. I mean, I think there's a real world where several guys off that team are still there. James Scott, potentially. Augusto Casilla, potentially. Travis Perry, potentially. Obviously, they want to keep Patton Pinkins. But then I think, you're going to absolutely see a lot of roster flux because that's modern college sports, not just college basketball. It's baseball too, right? I mean, half your lineup changes every year. And football, Ole Miss had a pretty big portal haul, and it's almost nothing compared to what some of the other schools in the league did. So, but to answer your question, no, I wasn't surprised. I knew they keeping him was a priority.
Yeah. We'll have Jeff for tomorrow. We'll go over some of the SEC baseball series for the weekend. Look at Florida a little bit. Have Around the Horn coming out. Neil's got a mailbag later today as well. And then again, a lot of football content. We have another football media availability on Friday. is the next one. Tuesday, Friday is the plan right now. So appreciate all you guys in the stream and elsewhere, and we will talk to you again soon. Take care.